if you're using virtual assistants, contractors, or maybe even employees to help you grow your business, chances are you've butted up against some disappointment. You hired someone to do things and you're finding out you're not getting the results you want. So is there a fix? Are you just really bad at hiring? Or is there some simple things you could do differently to get better results from your team? Hi, I'm Melanie Benson Strick, and I'm known as a business optimizer and a profit strategist for entrepreneurs who are visionary and creative, and their business is starting to take off, but they don't quite know how to make the transition into the high 6 and 7 figures. And today we are talking about how to deal with your relationship with your team and maybe even the way you're growing your team and how some really simple things may be playing out in your business and your team that you don't realize. So I talked about disappointment, and disappointment with your team is a pretty common thing with most every entrepreneur I know. You either find that things get routinely dropped, you don't get the results you want, you feel frustrated and stressed because you so desperately need more support and you need to get more things done, but your team just can't quite keep up with you, right? So I've been coaching and mentoring entrepreneurs around their teams for a really long time, probably close to 12 of the 15 years I've been in business. And before that, I spent many years in corporate designing and running teams to get really crazy projects done in record time. So I had a lot of experience with teams. And there's a couple of things that I find are really unique to an entrepreneur who's growing and their business is starting to take off and the experience they're having with their team. And one of those things is that oftentimes your business, as it's growing, is needing more and more help. But you're hiring virtual assistants and contractors and people who work in their own business to help you run it. And what I find is that at certain times, the business owner or entrepreneur can oftentimes get really, really frustrated with the availability or the follow through or the bandwidth or even just the person's commitment to your business, and you feel disappointed. This is something that is really, really common. I've personally experienced it. It's like you're having a meltdown, something's breaking, you need help now, and the person that's supposed to be there isn't. Well, that might logically be a reason to get upset and frustrated, but the truth of the matter is there may be an expectation mismatch going on here. You see, as an entrepreneur who's hiring another entrepreneur, even if they are a virtual contractor or someone who's dedicated to helping you with something in your business, the truth of the matter is they're not your employee unless you have an employment contract with them, unless you're paying their taxes and you're paying, their insurance and all the things that go with having an employee. If you're contracting them, they run their own business. Ultimately, they have responsibility for other things besides you. And many of us have a really hard time swallowing and embracing that we're not the center of that person's world when we need them to be. So one of the big things that many of us who are emerging into the high 6 and 7 and maybe multiple 7-figure businesses is that we can't expect contractors to operate like employees. We may get lucky and get somebody who's really good at showing up and being present to us. But what many of my colleagues and my clients over the years have discovered is that oftentimes when you need them the most, if you've been pushing on them and you've been getting them to jump through hoops and you've had really high expectations of them and they're a contractor, there's a point where it's all going to fall apart. And usually it's not at the time you want it to. It's at a time that's really inconvenient. So one of the things you may have to look at is your expectations of that person. And are you actually trying to get a contractor to operate like an employee? And is it time for you to maybe bite the bullet and look at getting employees? Or do you need to redesign your compensation plan so there's more skin in the game for that contractor to be incentivized and rewarded for being available when you need them most? Really have to take a stock of your expectations of how someone is available to you, especially if they're not full-time with you. If they've got other clients or they're only working part-time, you cannot expect them to be on demand when you need them. It is not right and it won't work. And you simply will burn them out or frustrate them to the point that they are going to leave you, usually when you need them the most. Another big thing that I see happening a lot, and again, I had this one myself too, is you've hired somebody and you put 7 different kinds of activities that are all unique and have different energies. And you put on that one person that they're supposed to be able to be good at all of them. And usually that's because from a budget place or a time place, you don't really have the ability to get all the different people that you need. Well, yes, there are some people who are good generalists, but the truth of the matter is you're probably going to face some disappointments if you're expecting somebody to be good at all things. It's pretty much humanly impossible for anyone to excel in a lot of different areas, especially if they're using different types of energies. One of the things I teach people in my Build Your Dream Team program, and when I'm mentoring people through Awaken Leadership, is that you oftentimes have tasks and activities that require very different energies that need to be done, very different preferences and strengths. And so if you're putting all that on one person and expecting them to do a good job for you, you're going to be sorely disappointed. A third area that many people bump up against a lot of frustration is that you expect your team to keep up with your speed. Now, one of the things that I learned early on is that I operate at the speed of light. I constantly can see 10,000 steps ahead of where I'm at now and where I'm going, and I'm moving at the speed of light. Now, I've gotten better as I've gotten wiser and older and realized that that's actually not always healthy for me, but a lot of entrepreneurs are moving at break speed. They've got fast paces. They see the big picture. They know exactly where things should be and that they should be done a certain way. And they're, again, expecting their team members to keep up, to operate that quickly, to, understand their big picture, to, be able to really operate at a very different speed than they probably are good at. And again, this is a place where some expectations and breakdowns can confront you, because if you've done a good job hiring, you've probably hired people who are opposite in you. They're either the implementer or the figure outer or the person who's technical enough to get things done. And they will actually, by nature of being good at those tasks and activities, operate at a much slower pace and want to be more methodical and do a good job of completing their task, which means A, they don't always see the big picture, that you've hired them to do certain pieces, and B, they will never keep up with you, and they will never have the same level of attention to detail and perfection that you do, because it's not their business, it's yours. So yes, I know that's frustrating, but the truth of the matter is you've got to really do a mindset check here. If you want to grow and you want to expand, you're going to need a team. But you can't have unrealistic expectations of your team if you want to be a powerful leader and to really achieve greatness in this world. You have to learn how to lead from a different place. You've got to be willing to shift what's not working, which is your expectations being wrong or not serving. And you've got to be willing to actually embrace a more powerful way to hire and delegate and lead your team. So for many of us, knowing what I've just shared with you and doing something different about it can be a little bit of a challenging space, right? Okay, I know I shouldn't have unrealistic expectations. I know I need to have different people who excel at these different roles, but I don't have the bandwidth for that yet, or I don't have the financial capacity to have that many people on my team. So yes, where you are is different than where you ideally want to be or could be. So first of all, just take a breath and recognize wherever you are in your growth path as a business owner, you got to get realistic and stop having expectations that are out of sync with where you are, and start making decisions that will help you take steps towards where you want to be. If you've got people who aren't able to deliver, you have to ask yourself, did I hire the wrong people? Have I grown to the point where I need different kinds of people and I've been holding on to a team that's no longer serving me? Or am I at the point now where I'm actually needing to learn how to lead more effectively. This can be a stage where you need a different kind of coach. This is exactly what I do for my clients, is I help them with those mindset adjustments and creating better strategies and better habits and behaviors when your business is taking off and the team and the way you've done it up to now isn't working anymore. The second thing you need to do is you need to get realistic. So if you have a financial bandwidth that will only give you so much of a team and so much bandwidth, then dial in the expectations properly. The truth of the matter is you're going to burn out your team. You're going to blast through some really good people if you don't learn to lead them more effectively and in a more empowered way. Yes, whether you like it or not, you are a leader. If you've got people that work with you, you are leading. If you've got clients, you are leading. If you are making an impact in the world, you are leading. So you got to really embrace that role and lead with power, but lead with grace. And if you're getting frustrated and blaming and other people for the lack of results, but really it comes back to you and that your expectations are out of sync, start there. Dial in those expectations. Start getting that you need to maybe do things differently right now so you can get better results. All right, I know I brought up some interesting points today. I'd be curious to hear, how's this landing for you? Are you recognizing that maybe you've been out of sync with your expectations and the way you've been trying to grow your team is maybe not getting you the results you want? Love to hear your thoughts on the show page at melaniebensonstrick.com. And if you need some resources, I'll be sharing one with you here in a second. All right, we'll look forward to seeing you again next week for another episode of Power Up. Bye for now. If you're a small business owner working way too much in your business, then you're not really putting your business to work for you. And you could benefit greatly by learning how to develop a team of world-class players to help you accomplish more and literally free you up to get more done. Now, we all want to shatter our income goals. We all want to be able to accomplish much greater results, but it's really difficult to do if you don't know how to delegate masterfully and be able to get the right things off your plate to the right people who will really get things done. That's where the power of the virtual team comes in. Be sure to get your copy right now at virtualteamebook.com.